And here.
Yeah, I just want to know where you were looking. You say you're looking at, this research method, but you couldn't find any of the gonzo. I stopped using porn after 30 years of using it because it was just getting so out of control. I started to feel sick about myself after using it. So the idea that it's not having an effect, and the idea that you get on and you find happy little couples and people are sitting down, with their partners. This is so unusual in the overall experience of porn. And everyone you speak to, everyone I've ever known, sits alone in a room staring at a box. And this idea that it's happening at this high-end, middle-class level where, guys are finding out how not to be cretins by watching 8 guys come on a girl's face.
Absolutely.
I just find bizarre.
Thank you for that. I'll take that as a comment. Have we got a question?
Gail, is it? Sorry. With that research, as a user of porn, I can tell you that, and most of my mates don't actually pay for porn because you can get onto free websites. And you go onto the website, there's different categories depending on what you want to watch. So if you want to watch anal, you can watch that. If you want to watch a blonde or a brunette or an Asian or whatever. There's 2 categories going back to the sort of emphasis that we've got on porn at the moment and the way that this debate's going. It's on hardcore violent porn. But there's 2 categories on every website which are always very popular as well. There's the amateur porn and as well as erotica. Now, erotica is kind of, they've got nice music in the background, they've got candles and whatnot, and it's quite, it's kind of lovemaking as opposed to
Can we go to the question bit?
Yeah, and then there's the amateur. Now, amateur is obviously people who've recorded themselves with their partners, whatever, and put them up there. But I'd just like to point out that they're 2 areas of pornography which are actually quite central.
Right, so this is a comment.
Yeah.
Thank you very
and
much for that comment. I
ignored.
think we've definitely established that there's different kinds of porn out there. I'm definitely looking for that question.
Oh, hi. Just following on from the brave young woman who did speak from her own experience. Thank you. As a Gen Xer and a fellow feminist sister, I'm just wondering whether, and I really get kind of annoyed with the porn war debates and the debates between feminists who are sex positive or anti-porn, and I'm wondering whether the whole debate is completely redundant when porn has completely permeated into every part of our society. It's not just what people are paying for or what they're consuming online. Porn has become mainstream. Just watch a music video. I watched some music videos about a year ago and I hadn't seen them for a while, and I was really kind of like, well, this is porn. I mean, this is what 5-year-old kids, 11-year-old girls, this is what they're watching on a Saturday morning. So the question is the way you're framing the debate, is it redundant? Should we actually be asking a different question?
Can I answer that? That's a great question. Thank you very much. Actually, I'll let Catherine go first and then I'll let Kate, because I don't think Kate's had much of a go.
Well, I would like to just say that I think you're right. I think there is. I think what we're all saying is that there is an issue, but I think that identifying porn as the main culprit is perhaps a little bit simplistic. I think what I experienced in the sex industry, as I was saying, was actually that men just need a lot more education about sex in general. They may be looking to porn to get it, but I think if we somehow could educate young men in what loving sex looks like and means, then we might actually start counteracting a lot of the more malignant forms of sexuality in general.
And I mean, what I'd like to follow up on that comment, Kate, is that, and also to follow up to the question about young women. I mean, I always have a problem when anal sex is seen as a bad thing. I mean, I don't think it's everybody's taste, but I mean, I've got lots of gay friends, and they find that really offensive, that it's demonised or stigmatised. There are heterosexual people who enjoy anal sex, and as long as it's done safely and consensually, I don't have a personal problem with that. No, and if it's not done safely and consensually, that's bad. But any form of sexual activity is not okay if it's not safe and consensual and ethical.
And is that the point that someone else was trying to get to, which is whether or not this debate is proxy for the real question we're trying to ask, which is there a lot of non-consensual, unpleasant, oppressive sex that's going on out there that women don't feel capable of standing up to, saying no to, and that seems to me, yes, I hear what you're saying. I really do actually hear what you're saying, and you've made a very good point. Yeah,
Can I answer the question? I never got to answer the question that was asked. Can I do that first?
Sure. I just wanted to say one more thing about that, though, because, Catherine, I think you were trying to say that you were trying... Oh, sorry, maybe not. Maybe she wasn't trying to say anything. Gail. Gail, go ahead.
Can I just answer? Thank you. First of all, no one's talking about whether anal sex is good or bad. We're talking about how it works in pornography and the role of it and how it seeps into the lives of these women. So that's a separate issue. The other thing about the pornification of society, that is the key here. Why we don't have much softcore pornography is because most of softcore porn has migrated into pop culture. It has become the dominant way of seeing women's bodies. As the porn culture or pop culture becomes more pornographic, the regular pornography has to become more hardcore as a way to distinguish itself from pop culture. What these women are living in is you are told now, the young women in this world, you have two choices. You're either fuckable or invisible. And you have, that is your absolute choice. And then it gets even worse, right? Because let me tell you, your friends are walking around with the low-slung jeans, with the thong sticking out, the tramp stamp, the pierced belly button and the low-cut blouse. If you choose not to do that, then you will be rendered invisible. And so when young women who have an absolute developmental need to be visible have to dress like that and then get slammed as sluts and are then told by some bizarre feminist movement that you're empowered because that was your choice, I mean, this is like the mindfuck of the century because of what you are having to deal with. So I would like to hear the young women here make a real noise and to take back the feminist movement because it has been hijacked from you by a bunch of women who are absolutely removed from the realities of the culture.
Go ahead. Lisa, do you want to say something? Go ahead. You know, I grew up in a working class city called Newcastle. I was born in 1961. I witnessed sexual assault of my friends. I witnessed sexual assault of children. It's one of the reasons I became an activist. And one of the things I would say is that, yes, we live in an extremely imperfect world when it comes to male attitudes to women, and it concerns us all deeply, clearly. But I lived in a community where women got pregnant at 15 and had their first backyard abortion, and a lot of them got married at 16 and they left school. And so and I know that I'm talking about, you know, middle class privilege now. I certainly didn't grow up with that. But one of the things I have seen is a lot of progress. Call me an optimist, but I think that young women today have a lot more opportunities overall when it comes to education and opportunities for careers. It's not good enough yet, and we need to work on that. And one of the things I've got to say is that a lot of the sort of sexual assault and abuse that I saw going on, and domestic violence I saw going on in Newcastle, was well before the age of internet porn.
And Kate, I think that's just to follow on that point. I think your books really speak quite eloquently about the problem of saying no. I think if anything, in fact, I think the gentleman who was speaking before was really alluding to that in your book you are very open and honest about the incredible tension that in some ways Gail is talking about between, on the one hand, wanting to do what the other person wants you to do, dress, behave, but then also feeling like you want to try and find your own voice and your own sexuality. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, yeah, look, I'm not Gen Y, so my experience is probably slightly different. But in my experience, my tension was found in trying to reconcile my sexuality, my sexual desires, and yet having them framed as being somehow co-opted by men. I've been accused of having false consciousness, which is something that some feminists use, and I don't deny for a second that there's misogyny and violence and all sorts of problems between men and women. There's also a great deal of kindness and tenderness in my experience. But for me, it was actually about, if I wanted to have random sex with someone, did that make me a slut in the eyes of other women, in the eyes of men, or was I actually enfranchising my sexuality? And that secondly, that there is always going to be people who have a problem with it, whether or not they watch pornography. I'm sure it has an effect, but I think it's more about humans, human anger, human fear, and so on. The pornography, sex work, and so on are vehicles through which these are expressed, domestic violence and so on. I think that's what you have to look at. Where does the fear and anger come from?
Okay, well that seems like a very good note to finish on. I'm afraid we've run out of time. Can you please thank Catherine Lumby, Gail Dines and Kate Holden?